just like long range casting, long range spodding does have a technique to it, and practice does make perfect, but the kit's also very important as well. So I'm going to talk you through that. First of all, I've got an infinity spod rod, which is an extremely expensive spod rod, but when you think about it, if you can't get the bait out to where you can cast, what's the point in having the spod rod at all? So your best rod should really be your spod rod. So that's about £4 test curve. It's not actually rated for test curve, but it's one that I've helped design. Very, very light in the tip, very easy to cast, and a nice long handle on it as well. If you don't want to pay that sort of money, there's a longbow spod rod as well in the Dyer range, which is about 1/3 of the price. And there's loads of other companies that make decent spod rods as well. And then the reel, again, is a spod reel specifically for spodding. Looks really nice. You could fish with that as a carp fishing reel. Very discreet colours and logos and everything on it. And the thing that makes it good for spodding is the retrieve. The spod comes in really, really quickly, and believe me, when you're putting a spod out 100 yards 20 or 30 times, it makes a big difference. The Bezier reels that I'm using for my fishing are 100 turns for 100 yards. These are 75 turns for 100 yards. 25 turns less, so 10 spods, that's 250 turns less. It makes a big difference. And on that great big spool, I've got 20-pound Berkeley Whiplash floating braid, very, very thin, cast like a dream. But you'll see when I'm actually spodding, you have to pay it a lot of respect. You have to keep wetting the braid up so that you don't get horrendous wind knots. And attached to that, to take the force of the cast, is a 30-pound Korda armour cord leader, a braided leader material. Some people use 50, I can't snap the 30, so that's what I use. And I tie that on with a 4-turn water knot. And then the spod itself, that's my little baby. I spent a long time developing this. I do a hell of a lot of spodding. The Skyliner spod is totally unique, very, very lightweight, because you know, if the spod weighs 2 ounces with nothing in it, you're casting 2 ounces every time for nothing. So that only weighs just about an ounce, as light as we can get it. Great big hole, so it comes in really, really easily. Very buoyant nose cone, so it comes up to the surface even in the crosswind, and long stiff tails on it to get the back out of the water. And you'll notice how I'm standing as well. I've got the bucket with the spod mix in it and the bucket with the water for washing my hand off directly in front of me, and it's all about getting into a rhythm. It's the same casting style as when I'm casting a rig a long way, but it's about getting into that rhythm. The worst thing you can do is keep doing that. Keep turning away from the lake all the time to get your spod mix. Have it all ready to go, and then you're going to get into a rhythm. So let's start going. Couple of scoops up. I push the mix down into the spod with the same hand, and then about half the length of the rod as the drop. Make sure your clutch is done up nice and tight, and this is already clipped up at the range under the line clip, and out she goes, right up in the air. That's just hit the clip. It's just taken the force out of it. You don't want to be hitting the clip with the rod pointing straight at the area, because you could snap the braid. So as it gets out to where you want it, it hits the clip, and just lay the spod down on the surface. Give it a couple of flicks just to make sure all the gears come out the end of it. Bow arm over, whip the braid up off the surface. When you wind in one of these Skyliner spods in, just keep a constant pace on it. Don't be striking against it or pumping it in. Just flick it along the surface, up to your hand, into the bucket, 2 or 3 scoops. Again, push it down with your finger. Wash your hand off so you don't cover your spod rod in goo. And I'm going to start on my back foot and transfer my weight through to my front foot as I cast. And out she goes. Bink onto the clip, 100 yards with ease. Now, I prefer to use braid on my spod reel, but Adam Penning likes to use very, very light mono. He uses 10-pound Infinity Duo, which absolutely flies off these reels. I've got a great big line clip on them as well, because you're going to use that line clip all the time. Once you've basically got the spod to the right range, put the line under the clip on the spool, and then it's never going to go further than that. So as long as your direction is right, it's always going to go out that distance, and that means that you can spod at night if you want to, without the marker float out there at all. And providing you hit that clip and it goes in the right direction, you're baiting up in exactly the same spot. And that's one of the main reasons I really like spodding, because it is so accurate. Once you get it right, it's so accurate, day or night. And in a summer session, I'd probably start off with maybe 10 spodfuls. Over 2 rods. And then top it up as I get bites. Some lakes you'll find you can spot over the top of the fish and it actually increases the action. And in other lakes, if you spot on top of the fish, particularly this big lake at Maison, I found if you spot on top of the fish at night, you don't get any more bites. So then I put out 20 or 30 spodfuls in the good periods when you're going to get a lot of action, from sort of April through to October, and then leave it. Other lakes I'll only put 10 out, and then after I get every fish, I'll put 3 more spodfuls out. No more than that, just enough to draw the fish back in. And we've seen that on the underwater filming. You trickle a little tiny bit of bait back into the swim, and the fish come back in to investigate, your rig's already there, and bang, you get another one.